about this group, so we said let's call them millennials.
So all right, the millennials.
That's how it happened.
And I mentioned, all right, the millennials, the oldest are turning.
We define them as born from 1982 and after. So now around, oldest around age 30, but 30, 32. I mean, a little bit of a gray line at the edge, but a very different group.
Explain some of the differences. First of all, how big is this group? How many members in this millennial generation?
By the time they hit midlife and we get all the immigrants who have come in with this generation, they'll be over 100 million. So the largest generation quantitatively. We typically define generations in terms of birth years by their location in history. So the way to define, boomers came of age in the consciousness revolution, that period in the 60s and 70s, a lot of social cultural change. Gen Xers grew up as children during that era. That's, the throwaway kids, the latchkey kids, and they sort of, that's their survivalist free agent mentality. Millennials came along when that was all over. So families were back to baby on board stickers and minivans, and fathers are present at their births, and suddenly all these child protection gadgets. So they've been told from the time they came along that they were special, that they needed structure, that they had a long-term sense of purpose, and we've been seeing attributes, sort of the pure personality qualities, which are very different from Generation X. They're into teamwork. They love to, do things for the community. They're very conventional. They like being with their parents. They approve of their parents' songs and movies. So now we bring in, Mick Jagger and Tom Petty at the Super Bowl halftime, and these kids are great with that. Wow, classics. Love that stuff. They're living with their parents. They get along well with their parents.
Now, and living with their parents, they doing this out of necessity or because they really want to?
Both.
Both.
Because we saw the trend start long before the financial meltdown and the Great Recession. From 1980 to 2010, the share of 25 to 35-year-olds living with their parents has gone from 11 million to 22 million.
22 million
yeah,
people.
Huge increase. And what we're seeing now, Gen Xers, as you remember back in the 90s, they would sometimes boomerang home. That was a phrase that was embedded. It was always humiliation, defeat. I had to go back and live with the rents. Didn't want. Well, these kids, they're never leaving. It's not like they boomerang back home in defeat. They're fine with it. And even when they do find a full-time job, a lot of them are saying, hey, this is comfortable. I'll keep living here anyway. Save money, prepare for my mortgage. Save up to get married. Marriage is something millennials do after they become successful, not before. So that's kind of a reversed order now going on.
Well, Neil, I'm just curious. Are there specific spending patterns that any company needs to pay attention to when they're trying to market to millennials?
First of all,
what would be an example?
Yeah, you need to co-market to their parents and their whole family. They're living with their extended family. Even now, when they're having children and they're raising their own families, they've got their mom and dad and their aunts and uncles. It's this big thing now. Everyone's kind of around. Not only are millennials living more with their parents, they're living more near their parents. So you got that whole thing going on. They're much more influenced and also plugged into their peers. I mean, this whole, Facebook phenomenon is not a joke. I mean, they go to sleep with their smartphones and they're always on getting feedback from their peers. So
now, this is a political season, so I'm just going to give you about 5 seconds. What about politics? They involved in politics?
Absolutely, and